May I proceed? May it please the court, your honors, opposing counsel, members of the jury. Drinking and driving. Mr. Dawson is driving down a dark, curvy road on a rainy night. He has two innocent girls in the back seat, two innocent girls that he is trying to get home. But the night's not cooperating with him. It's dark outside. He can't see because of the rain. But there's something Mr. Dawson never does. He never pulls over. He never calls a cab. He never asks a friend to come get them. Mr. Dawson makes a decision. The defendant made a decision to drink and drive. There's a reason we're taught not to drink and drive. Not just because it's dangerous. It's illegal. And it's illegal because innocent people like Vanessa Sullivan can end up dead. Mr. Dawson, when he was drinking that night, he lost control of the vehicle. After 9 drinks, he was trying to negotiate a dark, curvy road. But he couldn't do it. He drove off the side of the road. And he claims he saw a deer. No one else saw a deer that night. Not Mr. Bennett, who was sitting on his front porch with the light on looking. Not Taylor Hobson, who was sitting in the back seat. Mr. Dawson himself didn't even tell the officer that there was a deer that night. What Mr. Dawson told the officer is that he needed another drink. You heard a lot about BACs today. Blood alcohol content of someone. In some jurisdictions, if you have more than 0.08, well, then you're drunk. But the judge is going to give you some instructions today. You have those instructions sitting right there in front of you. And what those instructions say is that a person, if they are under the influence of alcohol, they are too drunk to drive. But we brought you an expert anyway to tell you just how drunk Mr. Dawson was. His BAC was at 0.19. The defendant was stumbling. He was slurring his words. He had lost coordination. He had lost judgment. Yet he was behind the wheel of a car. Even the defendant's own witness, their expert that they hired to come talk to you today, told you something really important. They told you that the BAC calculation didn't work. She said it wasn't accurate, that Dr. Smith couldn't come to a conclusion because the defendant's breath alcohol content had exceeded the limits of the machine. She told you that the machine only goes up to 0.16, and that the defendant couldn't get a good reading because it was above that limit. It was above 0.16. Mr. Dawson tried to tell you that he can have 1 drink every hour and drive. That he's a veteran when it comes to having a few drinks and driving. On multiple occasions, the defendant has decided to drink and get behind the wheel of a car after several drinks. But what you never heard is that the defendant knows how to get behind the wheel of a car after having 9 drinks. 9 drinks that the defendant remembers, of course. He doesn't remember what he ate for dinner. He tried to tell you that it was something with meat in it. That's not very specific. Let's talk about what else the defendant tried to tell you today. The defendant honestly thought that you would believe that when he had a drink with the band to celebrate, when he went out and cheers with the band, that what he was drinking was a cup of water. The defendant honestly thought that you would believe that a shot that burned the whole way down his throat was a shot of water. If we take the defendant at his word, he stuck to 1 drink an hour. Almost. See, the thing about the defendant's drinking is that he wanted to have that tequila sunrise after midnight. He had that tequila sunrise just 45 minutes before he got in the car. He didn't give his body an hour to process it. He told us over and over and over again that if he sticks to 1 drink an hour, he's golden. He didn't follow his own rule. He took an unjustifiable risk. An unjustifiable risk that took Vanessa Sullivan's life. Vanessa Sullivan's best friend has to live every day without her. Without the person who used to paint her nails, and play dress up with her, the person that she graduated with, the person that she wanted to go to law school with. She's going to do that by herself now. Vanessa Sullivan's parents, they're going to come home to a house without any children. On Christmas, when they go to put a present under the tree, Vanessa will never be there to open it because of the risks that the defendant took. As the prosecution, we have the burden of proof in today's case. We have to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt. That doesn't mean all doubt. Beyond any doubt that you can support with reason and with evidence. We prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant acted extremely recklessly. Those jury instructions that you have in front of you, they explain what it means to act extremely recklessly. It means taking unjustifiable risks. It means acting with indifference toward human life. Today we heard about how the defendant did that. We heard that the defendant had drink after drink after drink and got behind the wheel anyway. We heard that when it started pouring rain, the defendant took a risk. He kept driving. When people in the back seat begged him to slow down, he took a risk. He kept speeding at 66 miles an hour through a 35 zone. We heard from the defendant's own witness that that curve on Canyon Road, that curve should be driven at 25 miles an hour. 35 miles an hour is dangerous. 45 miles an hour is even more dangerous. 55 miles an hour is very dangerous. So ladies and gentlemen, what is 65 miles an hour? 65 miles an hour in the dark, in the pouring rain, after 9 drinks. That is an unjustifiable risk. And telling Vanessa Sullivan and Taylor Hobson to be quiet instead of slowing down, that showed just how indifferent the defendant was to 2 innocent lives. The defendant was drinking and driving and killed Vanessa Sullivan. Find him guilty.